Hello, everyone. My name's Trevor Codner. I'm the Business Development Manager here at the ECMS. Who found it difficult to get here? Yeah. Some of you aren't owning up to this. Yeah. Who's been here before? 2 people. Trevor, I recognise you. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping, and then I'll just tell you a little bit about the ECMS, which stands for the Elite Centre for Manufacturing Skills. So, I think there's some prompts on here. Parking, as you probably have found out, is either on the road outside where there's some parking bays, or we do have an extended car park with about 200 parking spaces at the back, which the barriers for the parking the car park will be locked at 9:45. So if you don't need your car for the weekend, it will be there for the weekend. So you'll have to, as you drive out, the barrier will come up. So if you've parked out there, that's okay. If you've parked at the front, I believe you're okay for parking and there's no traffic wardens around. The toilets are just behind where you've signed in. We've got disabled toilets, male and female toilets there, so they're accessible at any point. I don't know why photography's on there. But I'm saying take as many pictures as you like and use it at whatever events you need to use it at. I believe there's some delegate packs and leaflets. You'll see our leaflet in the middle of the table, which is an ECMS leaflet. And essentially what we're offering businesses is access to this facility. And we also have the National Foundry Training Facility over at Tipton. If you're an SME in the Black Country and you're looking for support, you can contact us on the back of that leaflet. And if it's a venue that you're looking at, if it's an event, if it's equipment demonstration, whatever support you think you may need in the business world, come and see us. And we offer the facilities for free for 12 hours in each of those categories. Refreshments. Now, there is a timetable, and these guys will run through the timetable with you, but refreshments are going to be over in the far corner. It's already laid out. Don't all rush out now. I think there's a particular break time where there's tea, coffee. The teas and coffees are in here as well, but there's teas, coffees, cold drinks, and also a buffet laid out in there. We have not only the facilities here, but like I mentioned in Tipton, but we are part of the University of Wolverhampton. So this is a new campus which was built only a few years ago. It's a £120 million investment that has been made here. You can't see it now, but just over on the far side, you might have seen the building when you came in, is the School of Architecture and the Built Environment, which is a brand new school. Thomas Telford is just on the corner here, the UTC. And behind this building at the back, you might have, if you parked at the far end, you might have seen a National Brownfield Site Institute building, which is, again, part of the university. And a lot of the projects within the university, like this project, is funded by the local LEP and the Growth Fund. So essentially, we are part of the university that engage with businesses. Not just academia side, but also we just had a remit. This particular project has just had a remit to support young people and unemployed people. So we will welcome organisations who deal with or support young people, because we fall on the Faculty of Science and Engineering, and we have our Telford campus where we've got apprentices who actually are in the motorsports industry. So their apprenticeship, we have a motorsports car, Formula 3 car, which we race. We have a Praga car, which we race all over Europe. We have a professional driver. And if you ever come here again, one of our cars will be in here. So we do run apprenticeship programs as a university, and we do get opportunities for young people to come into the university and have a look around This is one campus. The other campus is the main campus in the city. We also have a campus over at Walsall, and we have our Telford campus as well. I think that's all from me, but if you do want to contact me, my business card is on the desk, or our contact details is on the back of our ECMS leaflet. Okay, thank you very much. I'll hand over to the coordinator.
Thank you. Your program for this evening conference is included in your delegates pack as well. Is a copy of the Wolverhampton Black Business Network membership and evaluation forms. So we're going to need some evaluation after this. This year's conference is titled Financial Economics and Entrepreneurship. Anyone here actually attended one of these conferences? Because I know I've been coming for 8 years, 7 years. Anyone here been before? Okay, quite a few. So it's usually very good. I always go learning something new. So the WBBN conference will be focusing on young people. So it's very good we have young people here in the room. Addressing unemployment in our locality. So some of you know Wolverhampton has one of the highest unemployment statistics in the entire country. We want to tackle it head on, so that including the council, organizations such as this one, and several other organizations are coming together to ensure we tackle unemployment, because we need jobs in our city. We need our young people coming out from educational sector and straight into work, not just hanging around and wondering what the future holds, or actually, worst case scenario is emigrating from here. So we need to retain our young people. We need to grow our economy here in Wolverhampton. So this conference is very pivotal in that sense. This evening, we will hear from keynote speakers as to why economics is interesting and important. Also career opportunities at the Bank of England. What a place to work. Our keynote speaker will be followed by 2 panels. Panel 1 is entitled to Developing Careers and Aspirations, sharing their lived experiences and journey till date. Panel 2 will focus on finance and wealth creation. This panel will provide information and advice on our finances and wealth creation for young people. So some of you might be living here tonight, millionaires, who knows? I hope so, don't forget me. Please make notes, please feel free to ask questions, very important. And thank you so much. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. No pressure because I know him personally, but I'm going to introduce him professionally. Otherwise, I'll start to tell you some things that probably he wouldn't want us to discuss tonight, which includes the food he sells in his shop. So he sells African food. So whenever I want to eat African food, I just go to his shop and get some bargains. It's no other person but one of our sponsors as well. So he's Mr. Michael Balorundoru, Network Coordinator for WBBN, Chairman, Director, CEO, and Founder, Heritage Accounting Services, and Divine Heritage Food. Divine Heritage Food is an African shop. They sell really, really good African food. So if you want to try, just let me know. Thank you, and come and have the mic. A round of applause, guys, for him.
Thank you, Celia. Good evening, everybody. My job is easy and short and sharp. Somebody look at me and look at the product of my business. So if you don't mind, you can join me. I'm just to introduce and welcome our guests and our keynote speaker. I happen to be in the financial circle as well, so I need to get closer to you. We can get some money from the Bank of England. We want to thank him for being around, our guests, our speakers, the panelists, the students, and I think they are the beneficiaries of this event. You are all welcome. Especially we have to thank our sponsors, Wolverhampton City Council. Can I have the Metro Bank, HSBC, Vine, ECMS, NatWest, Ignite, Midland? Quite a lot of you. You are very, very welcome, and we thank you. I understand that the end result of any investment is the revenue to be generated and the profit to be made, isn't it? We are going to be, it's going to profit us, it's going to be profitable, and we shall all go back home smiling. Once again, thank you for coming, and I welcome you to this August event. Thank you.
Okay, that was short and sweet. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, we're going to have our second speaker number 2 speak to us, and they are the keynote speaker for today. I'm excited to actually introduce them. He's Graham Chaplin from the Bank of England. Some of you are actually thinking, why is she smiling? I'm smiling because if the chaplain from Bank of England is here, that pretty much means that our credit cards will be paid tonight, isn't it? So that's why I'm excited. So someone tell me this is true. My dreams could be true. But anyway, we have Graham. He'll be speaking to us on the topic, why economics is interesting and important, as well as highlight career opportunities, young people, with the Bank of England, even older people as well who want to change careers. More information about Graham can be found in the brochures on your tables. So I will introduce Graham Chaplin to the podium. A round of applause, guys.
Oh, I need to press the button, don't I, to make it.
Is that your mic?
Where are we? No, that's. Oh, yeah. There I am. Yeah. Okay. That looks done. I need that.
Yourself,
I need.
yeah?
I'll do it.
Do yourself because I was told to do it.
Don't worry. I'll do it myself. I'll try not to trip over.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Hi, everyone. Oh, it's not. That's kind of 2 out of 10. Hi, everyone. Yeah, it's got 5 out of 10. We'll see if we can get it towards 10 out of 10 by the end of the talk, shall we? Yeah, I'm Graham. I hope you can all hear me. I hate these mics. They're terrible. So if I get feedback and stuff, then, well, you know, that's because I'm useless with mics. Sorry about that. I am the Bank of England's agent for the West Midlands. I see a lot of blank looks. What the devil does that mean? I hear you all say. It means I've got the best job in the Bank of England. I'll tell you about that and why that's the case. See what we've got on these slides. Yeah, so what is the Bank of England? I'm afraid I can't pay off your credit card bills. Sorry about that. We're not a bank. You can't have a bank account with us, okay? We are the government's bank. That's what we are. We're the government's bank. We're the bank of a lot of other governments as well. The cool thing about the Bank of England is we've got a huge amount of gold in the basement, massive amount of gold in the basement. Quite often I have a photo of that, but I don't have one today, sorry. Got a lot, but none of it is ours, sadly. We've only got 1 gold bar that we own, but if you are ever in the City of London, and you should go to the City of London, go to Bank Tube, get out of Bank Tube, go to the Bank of England Museum, and then you can go in the museum, which is on the right-hand side, and you can pick up a gold bar. They actually let you pick up a gold bar in the museum. It's really heavy, and that is our 1 gold bar that we own. Every other gold bar in the bank is owned by someone else, but that's a cool thing we do. We are mainly there to make sure that when you get up tomorrow morning, the money in your pockets, the money in your bank accounts is still all there, and it's still worth something. Yeah? So we're all about continuity, stability, making sure that money is valuable still the next day. And that's really tricky, actually, and making sure all the financial plumbing works so that all those things you tap with, whether it's your mobile phone or your card. How many of you actually carry cash? Put your hands up. Who carries cash? Whoa, there's a bit of a demographic divide there, isn't there, folks? You know, I normally, yeah, cool. I normally have cash in my back pocket, but I gave it all to my elderly aunt earlier today, so I don't have any on me. So I normally at this point say that I always carry cash, but even I. So what am I here to do tonight? I'm here to try and inspire you. Sam Duru asked me to come along this evening. I've been in the West Midlands for 14 years now, and I've known Sam for 10 at least. And he said, come along and inspire the young people in the room to be interested in finance and economics, okay? So let's see how I get on. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one, I thought. But I find it exciting. I find it interesting. So let's see if I can share a bit of that passion with you. Look, I'm not one of the young people in the room, okay? I'm 53. Oh, it's tragic. And I've got 3 kids who are, I think, older than most of the people in this room, probably. And I've got 30 years behind me at the Bank of England. I have been working at the Bank of England for 30 years. Wow. But I've got a great job. I go out and about and I speak to all different types of businesses. So in this region, I speak to all the big car manufacturers. I go down to Oxford, I speak to BMW. I go over to Gaydon, I speak to Jaguar Land Rover. That's all fun. But I also get to speak to really interesting little businesses who make parts for satellites that go up into space. And then I go and speak to estate agents and I find out what's going on in the housing market. I go and speak to accountants and find out what's going on in their business. I go and speak to care homes and find out how difficult they're finding it to recruit. So I have a fascinating job. I spend all my time talking to lots of different people, finding out what's going on in the real world. And I do that because I need to understand what's going on in the economy so that we can make the right decisions at the bank in order to keep things nice and stable for everyone. And then what I want to try and prove to you this evening is that economics is really relevant to your life, even if it isn't going to be relevant for your career, and it may be relevant for your career, who knows. So, a little bit about me. When I was just thinking about this, I thought, I've got to speak to a lot of people who are, not even 20 yet. What was I doing when I wasn't 20? Well, I was kind of not interested in economics at all, let's be honest. When I was in my teens, what was I interested in? I was interested in English, in literature. Yeah, I wanted to go to university and study literature. And I wanted to, read as much Shakespeare as I could and act in lots of plays and read poetry and generally be kind of, poetic and interesting and, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't very interested in maths, to be honest. So this is interested in Shakespeare, not interested in maths. That was me, a bit scared of maths at that age. But actually, when you come out the other side, you realise that you've got to use everything. And that actually, communication is important, mathematics is important, and they're both really interesting as well. The ability to write, make arguments, really important in any career. The ability to use a bit of maths, really important as well. And you need both in economics. You need to understand how people work, but you also need to be able to do a bit of adding up. It's all about telling stories to help you understand the world better. And how you tell those stories, you can do that with a mathematical model, for sure, but you can also do it by writing a good story as well. One thing I would say is that you can have a pretty good career in finance and accountancy without knowing much mathematics, okay? Most people in banking and finance, they've got to be able to add and subtract and divide and multiply, but that's about it, folks, okay? Most of accountancy and what have you is about people and relationships and understanding how they work. The maths is handy, but if you're really good at maths, if you're an absolute maths wizard, yeah, go into physics, go into engineering, go into space shuttle making, that kind of stuff. You don't need that level of maths to do economics. You can do economics like that, but you don't need it. It's all about people. Talking of people, I was thinking, who was I with when I was starting out? at school and university. I don't know if you know any of these people. They're probably too old for you. The lady on your left, that's Rachel Weisz. I was at university with Rachel, believe it or not. She's a film star. She was in The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, and she was Black Widow's mother, which ages me. She's a year younger than me. She doesn't look it in that photo, does she? But there you go. And so she's a film star. I was at university with her. That looks like a really fun career. The guy on the right, that's Sacha Baron Cohen, you may know. He's a kind of satirical filmmaker. He makes really rude satirical films. That's Borat on the right. He's done some other pretty racy stuff as well. He's a really serious guy, actually. And he was at school. He was at the same school as me, though. He was about 3 years younger than me, so he was beneath my notice at the time. Now, of course, he's a multimillionaire with a kind of, film career behind him. But those are fun, exciting jobs to do, yeah? And what am I doing? I'm an economist, yeah? And when most people think, oh, he's an economist, this is what they think of. They think of people stuck in rooms. Actually, this is such an old photo, isn't it? Now you think of people stuck in front of computers. But this is the point. This is not what it's like working in finance and economics. No, it's much more interesting than that. And you don't have to be a film star to have a fun career, believe me. Because, why? Why is it so interesting? Why is it so important? Because this matters to everyone, okay? This economy is in a recession at the moment. Growth in this economy is non-existent. This economy is getting smaller, week on week, month on month. That's serious stuff. We've all got less money than we had, previously. Understanding how that all works and how to get out the other side of it is really helpful and important. It's important in your careers. It's important in your life, because it means that when people on the telly are starting to try and convince you as to whether they've got a solution for this, you've got a bit of a chance of knowing whether they're saying something sensible or not. So having a bit of an understanding in economics, really helpful in life. So I thought about this and I thought, well, at this point, I could have put lots of graphs up and started talking numbers. Because that's what I do normally. When I talk about the economy, I have kind of, pictures with lines on them, and I say, look, this is going up and this is going down. I thought, no, that's not going to work. That's really boring. I'm going to be inspiring. And what I find when I'm giving these presentations to people is that it's the really simple questions. If I get asked, someone will put their hand up and say, excuse me, this is a really dumb question, or this is a really simple question, I know, but, and then they'll ask it and I'll be like, they're the really tough ones, yeah? They're the really fundamental ones. They're the tricky ones to answer. So here's a nice simple question, yeah? What's the difference between a value and a price? Or if you want to start from the other end of that question, why is it that diamonds are so expensive and water is so cheap, yeah, in this country? Because you can live without diamonds, but you're going to struggle living without water, yeah? So what's more valuable? How do you think about that question? And that matters. If you can think about those really simple questions, then you can build a whole story about how the economy works. Don't worry, I'm not going to build a whole story about the economy, but just a little bit. So why are diamonds priced higher than water? That's the question. And it isn't about their value to you and me. We can survive without the diamonds. Anyone want to guess? Sorry, what am I saying? Who knows the answer? Yeah? Sorry? Harder to create them. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. They're scarce, yeah? Diamonds are scarce. Water, in this country at least, is not scarce. There's plenty of water in the UK, not so many diamonds. Scarcity is what creates price. But also you've got to have demand as well. So I can think of some other things that are scarce, like, my drawings, for example. I don't do many drawings because I'm a terrible artist. They're pretty scarce. there is no demand for my art, so therefore there's no price value, yeah? So it's not just scarcity, there's got to be a demand for it as well. And the other thing is, of course, in some countries, as we all know, tragically, water is scarce. And in droughts, you know, a bottle of water can become incredibly expensive. So these things are dynamic, they're not static. And then when you start thinking about things in terms of scarcity and demand, you can apply it more broadly in the wider world. So I'm hoping everyone knows who the guy on the left is, yeah? That's Lionel Messi, you know, star of the World Cup. So it's another question. Why does Lionel Messi get paid so much more than a nurse in the NHS? Because at the end of the day, Lionel Messi is not going to help save my life anytime, I don't think. Yeah, but a nurse in the NHS may well do. Obviously, as I can think of examples when they've certainly saved the life of people in my family. So why do we value Lionel more than NHS workers? Why does he get paid more? And it's the same reason. It's not easy to make a Lionel Messi. They're scarce. Yeah? Can't get many of them. You might say that a nurse is more valuable, but you can get more of them. You can train people up to be nurses, to be really good nurses, more easily than you can train someone up to be Lionel Messi. That doesn't mean they've got a higher value intrinsically, it just means it's a scarcity thing. And then when you dig into it, it starts getting even more interesting, because you think, well, what about the demand side of this? How does that work? You think, well, if I took my nurse and Lionel Messi and put them in a time machine, yeah, and I took them back to Roman Britain, and there's lots of guys walking around in togas and speaking Latin, and Lionel Messi says, look at my fantastic football skills. They'll say, what's football? And he says, well, give me a football and I'll show you. They say, well, we haven't got any footballs. We don't know what they are. You know, he's completely useless. Yeah, because there's no football, there's no goals, there's no one else to play with. You know, he ends up having to dig the fields. They say, what are you? And she says, well, I'm a nurse. I say, oh, great, you know, come and help us out. We've got problems, we've got people who are sick. You know, and she's got a whole load of skills and talents that's going to be really helpful for them. So the demand side, again, really matters. The other thing I thought about when I looked at this was technology. Lionel Messi is paid so much because he's a global brand. People can watch Lionel Messi all over the world, yeah? And therefore, the clubs he plays for, they can earn huge amounts of money. If it weren't for that technology, if he was just, you know, playing football 100 years ago, what's the most money you could get? Well, you might be able to fill an entire football stadium, but that's it. Yeah, there's no telly. There's no way of getting it any further. So it's just match by match, stadium by stadium. He's only getting small amounts of money. So again, the technology side of this is fascinating. And then the final thought I had, got all of this just from diamonds and Lionel Messi, the final thought I had about this was scarcity. There's only one Lionel Messi. There's only one Lionel Messi. He's a natural monopoly, yeah? You can't make another one. Diamonds, on the other hand, they're an unnatural monopoly. And you might think diamonds are scarce, but diamonds are scarce because the people who dig them out of the ground make them scarce, okay? They could dig a lot more out of the ground if they wanted to. That is a fact. But they don't, because if they flood the diamond market, they throw them all out in 1 year, the scarcity drops. So there's natural and unnatural monopolies. And you might think about whether you want to regulate that or not, as a government or as a society, because of course if I create an unnatural monopoly, if I say, well, you're not going to have any more diamonds, I'm creating profit for myself that perhaps should be better spent elsewhere. Anyway, I got all that out of 4 pictures, so I thought I did pretty well there. And this stuff matters, this stuff really matters, because it helps you think. these are helpful and powerful tools for thinking about the way the world works, if you start thinking about economic stories. And if you notice, I haven't used any maths, okay? You can tell these stories with maths if you want to. You can build models to prove this stuff. No, you could build models to explain this stuff. But you can do it with words as well, yeah? But it's a helpful and powerful toolkit. And another way of thinking about this is climate change, global warming. You know, possibly the most important thing on the planet at the moment, certainly the most important thing for your generation. I'm looking at the younger people in the audience when I say that, is climate change. And economics has got something really important to tell you about this as well. Because it's about how markets work and when markets stop working. Because people think that economics is all about markets, it's about people buying and selling and getting the right price for things and making sure things are efficient. And that is true. That is really important. Yeah? Because if I get the right price for something, it means that you start getting the resources allocated efficiently. Yeah? But it doesn't always work. So you get this problem that if you've got a resource that's shared by everyone, not owned by someone, then there's not the right incentives to stop it getting overexploited. And that's what's happening with the world at the moment. We all own the world. Yeah, it's ours, all of us. But no one actually owns it. Yeah, no, it's not someone, you know, I don't own the world. I can't sell it to anyone. So we just keep using it. And we don't collectively look around and go, well, wait a minute, we're using it up. It's going to run out. Yeah? The water's going to run out. Yeah? Something's going to go horribly wrong because we're all using it up too fast. And how do you coordinate that? And this is something that's been known for centuries. There's Aristotle down there. He's even older than me. And he said this back in the Greek times. But even more recently, economists talk about the tragedy of the commons, the tragedy of something held by everyone and therefore overused. So shared resources are not well protected. And you've got to think about how to coordinate in order to make sure that you don't use it up. And the thing I would emphasize about this problem is it's not about people being selfish and stupid, okay? This isn't an ethical question, this is an economics question. People have got incentives. If you've got a large family and you are poor, you will use whatever resources you need to feed that family, okay? That's not a stupid thing to do. That's not a selfish thing to do. But of course, you can't afford to worry about the global climate. That's not how it works. But collectively, as a species, we've got to solve this problem. We've got to get our heads together and get on with it. And these are the kind of things that economics can help you to think about. So where does the Bank of England fit into all of this? We're dealing with a much narrower and more specific thing, but it's still a very important thing. It's about that money I was talking about at the beginning, that money that none of you young people have in your back pockets, but you have on your phones or maybe on your bank cards. Making sure it's still worth as much next year as it was this year. That's so important. Protecting the value of the money so you've got certainty, so you can plan for the future, so you've got stability. Yeah? Now, the way we do that is the government says you're not allowed to have more than 2% inflation in the economy. Yeah, so prices can't go up more than 2% year on year. That's our job. Yeah? They can go up a little bit, but only 2%. Another simple question, why don't you just hold the prices flat? Yeah, that's another one I get asked. What's wrong with 0%? That's what the picture of the cliff is about, okay? If you're walking along a cliff, yeah, which you're never going to do if you live in the West Midlands, hey-ho, if you're walking along a cliff, you don't walk right on the edge, yeah, because you might get blown over or slip. You walk on the path just a bit away from the edge, and it's the same with inflation, yeah? We could target 0, but let's be honest, it's not easy targeting inflation. It does this. We're going to miss our target from time to time. And if we miss it below 0, things get really messy. Because if prices are going down every year, your economy starts doing this. Why? Because if I tell you that something's going to be cheaper tomorrow than it is today, you wait and you buy it tomorrow, yeah? But then tomorrow comes and I say, oh, but wait, it's going to be cheaper again the day after tomorrow, so you wait again, and eventually no one buys anything ever. I exaggerate, but basically if prices are going down, you've always got a reason to stop spending. So the economy goes like that. And Japan had that problem for quite a while. The prices were falling, no one bought anything, yeah? So we want to make sure that there's a little bit of inflation so we don't go into deflation, yeah? That's the only reason. And how do we do that? Well, I could spend another 2 hours telling you how we stop inflation getting out of hand. But the quick answer is we think about how fast supply is growing in the economy, and we try and make sure demand grows at the same rate. And we do that by putting interest rates up and down. If the economy's overheating, if there's too much activity, we raise interest rates. It's more expensive to borrow, and it's better to save. Therefore, you get less spending. People save more, borrow less. If we cut interest rates, it's cheap to borrow, people borrow more, spend more. Yeah, I made that sound simple. It's really complicated. But that's what we do. We make sure the money's, and that's important. Do you want a job at the Bank of England? Well, I've enjoyed it. If you want a job at the Bank of England, there's plenty of ways in. We have apprenticeships at all the normal levels, you know, GCSE, A-level. We have internships for undergraduates in a variety of different degrees. We also have placements for students on 4-year degrees where there's a work experience element. And we also have something called the Black Future Leaders Scheme, which provides sponsorship to certain students through their studies. I've got more details of all that if anyone wants to speak to me about it later, and it's all on the Bank of England website, bankofengland/careers. So there's lots of ways into the bank, and we want a whole variety of different skills, okay? A whole variety of them. You don't have to be as good looking as me to get in, don't worry. So what's happening in the economy at the moment? This is the kind of only bit of economics I'm going to give you in the boring sense, because I should tell you what's happening at the moment. That's my job. We've got inflation that's massively too high. We're nowhere near our 2% target. It's 11.1%, yeah? Whoa, we missed it by miles. We missed it by miles because there's a huge amount of inflation coming into the country because Putin invaded Ukraine. Price of gas has gone through the roof. That's a real shock to everyone. And the food price has gone up as well. We need to get inflation back down to 2%, so we're putting interest rates up to do that. But the problem is the economy is in recession. It's shrinking. It's shrinking because we're all worse off because of that cost shock from the gas price inflation. All households are worse off, all businesses are worse off. That's tough. We've also got a bit of a tight labour market. We've got very low unemployment, so wages are going up. So we need to lean against that with interest rate rises, and we will get inflation back down to 2% by the middle of next year. That's the good news. Bad news is that the prices are still going to be high. Yeah? All I'm saying is they're going to stop growing fast. Those prices are going to stay high for a while, and so the economy is going to take a long time to recover. That's the kind of thing I do in my day job. That's the kind of presentation I would normally give, and it would normally take me about half an hour to do that stuff. But you got the highlights. Have I got time for questions? No? Not now. Anyone wants to grab me? I'm going to be around. Ask me questions later, okay? Cheers. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Graham. That was interesting. Did any of you find that interesting? I was asking myself some few questions when you were talking about the value of things and the prices of things and talking about gold and water. That was quite challenging because I was thinking how important water is, but then how cheap it is. Like you said, it's accessible here. In Africa, it's not that accessible. However, gold is still more expensive in Africa than water. So I'm just I'm pondering on the dichotomy, really, because that's what I was actually doing there. I'm thinking, this has just blown my head, you know. And then I'm thinking about when you said Lionel Messi is scarce. And I'm thinking, do you know how many talents on the streets of Africa that could play, literally wipe the floor with Lionel Messi in terms of tricks, in terms of goal scoring, in terms of aggressiveness on the pitch, in terms of positioning. We have so many strikers, unrelentless strikers. I say this, I'm a former footballer, by the way, so don't be surprised I know about football. My 2 daughters play professional football on the grassroots level as well. They have a match tomorrow. So they play matches every Saturday. There are enormous amounts of talents, right, in Africa. And then Messi is being priced at this amount of money. You know, he came into fame when they played, was it the World Cup? Because I remember my friends, Mikel, who played with them and also ended up playing in Chelsea. So I want to tell you guys something, right, before I then go to the next slide, there's this philosopher, an Indian philosopher, he did say, the infinite library of the universe is in your mind. That is also very intricate, but when you process it, it makes a lot of sense. So what people are telling you doesn't necessarily mean that. You can place a value on anything, on absolutely anything. Media is powerful. And we need more black people, more black youngsters in media. Media can sell you anything. Media can sell sand to the Arabs. And that's how it is. You can see someone and tell you this person is priceless. There are many more people better than that person, but the media has said to you, channel your focus, your interests, your prices, your everything on this person, and people buy it. So we need to get more people. Hopefully next time we'll get people in the media sector here telling us how to use that channel to get what we want. Yeah? So some of the things you get brainwashed, but it's not really brainwashing, it's marketing. So it's a skill. If you can do it, you do it. It works magic. So gold is expensive because of what gold has been marketed to be. So don't limit your minds to something. You have your mind. Your mind can travel as far as Africa, India, wherever, just sitting down in that room. Your mind can travel. And I want your minds to travel as black young kids. So I want you to imagine the future, what you want to see, and sell that to people and make sure those people buy it. So that's one of the ways we can get into this market. So make sure you meet Graham afterwards, speak to him. Like you heard, there are so many opportunities in the Bank of England sector. You know, it is good to have years of career. You cannot have somebody better than him right now. So find out how. You would have your own peculiar challenges, I must tell you now, as black kids. So don't take it for granted that you're going to have 30 years uninterrupted career. It is hardly you see people like you and me have that. That's the fact. So we're here to tell ourselves the facts as well, yeah? So hopefully you get some advice from him, and hopefully WBBN would also would have a more intimate session where we tell you how to overcome challenges that you would have peculiar to you as black kids, so you can have a long, uninterrupted career as well. We're gonna go for break, 10 minutes break. We've got snacks, I was gonna say we've got toilets, but that's not for eating. We've got snacks, we've got the restrooms, freshen up. When you come back, the first panel will be sat there, so we're gonna have more of conversational session where you guys fire your questions to them and we make it more interactive. It looks like we've got a tough crowd, so I'll up my game in terms of making sure you guys laugh and smile. So get yourself some refreshments, get back here. Once you're back here, our panel will be ready for you. Thank you. Straight to our first panel. As mentioned earlier, we're going to have two panels. Our first panel will consist of, there's been a little swap. So one of the panelists in the first panel, we've sort of got it modeled up. So that person would go to the second panel, whilst one person from the second panel will move to the first panel. You understand when we get there. But nothing to worry about, it's not an emergency. So, this panel. Okay, you've got a panel 2, great, because somebody on panel 2 is coming on panel 1. So I'll leave that panel on here and actually invite the person to the sofa, I guess. So, this person is no other person but my colleague, actually, my senior colleague, Councillor Chris Burton. Hold on, sit down there. I'm joking. So Chris actually is our cabinet member for education. Sorry, one house. Okay. Chris Burton is cabinet member for education and skills for the City of Wolverhampton Council. Extremely, extremely talented. Actually, I'm happy, coincidentally, Chris, are you, sorry, Timorasi, are you the youngest councillor? Chris is youngest councillor in the country or here? Guys, give him a round of applause, actually. Come on, Chris. So this is so appropriate. We're lucky to have a very young councillor in Wolverhampton when we're talking about youth employment. So if this is not motivation for the young people, I wonder what would be. Chris is a dynamo, actually. He's one of the councillors that I have absolute time for. That doesn't mean I haven't got time for the others, but yes, every work environment do have rivalry. So this is not me being obnoxious or troublesome, like some would describe me, or cheeky. But Chris is my friend. I remember sitting on the Transport for West Midlands Combined Authority. So we had 2 councillors from Wolverhampton to represent the city on TFWM, Transport for West Midlands. He sat on that board with me, and his contributions are astronomical. And this is not me being flattery, this is the fact. Welcome, Chris, yeah? Don't vote against me in the council. So, anyway, the next person who would come on this panel is Mr. Kevin. Kevin, as you can see there already, is the CEO, the Vine Trust, and non-exec director, our Black Country Local Economic Partnership round of... Have I got something wrong? You need to change your facial expression. I'm joking. You look like I got something wrong. When I was growing up, I grew up in Nigeria. I only moved to this country in 2008. So when you're in the public, you're looking at your parents' faces because they don't speak. They use their expression and tell you to sit down. They use their expression and tell you, don't take any more food from that place. I'm watching you. I'm not even joking. They use their expression to tell you, sit down. You've been standing up for too long. So I was looking at her face and I'm like, how have I done something wrong? So I'm going to introduce the next person, Mr. Kevin. Is Mr. Kevin in the house? Give him a round of applause. Sorry. Okay, we have Dr. Sharon Beefield, founder of King Solomon International Business School and co-founder of the educational charity Excel Free. Some of the kids, young people are here, isn't it? They're very smart kids. I've been engaging with them during the break time, and I'm thinking, ooh, if my kids turn out to be like this, I'll be a happy mother. So I haven't met Dr. Sharon before, but I think she's got something right already. A round of applause for Dr. Sharon. So I know two more faces on this slide. Mr. Junior would go to the second panel, and Mrs. Sandra has made the cut. The cut is the cut for the first panel. I'm joking. This is just a little, mixing up we've done. So Mr. Junior will go to the next panel. So Mrs. Sandra Crossdale, Managing Director of Best Care Limited. Oh. What am I thinking? I've actually met Mrs. Sandra so many times. So many times. She's a phenomenal woman. Actually, another round of applause for Mrs. Sandra. So I think we're set. We're going to give each of our panelists 3 to 5 minutes to basically give us the perspective on this topic we're going to be discussing for the first panel. And after that, we would open up the floor. I want it to be very interactive, so I would encourage young people to ask questions or just share your comments, your thoughts, whatever. And then everyone in the room, please engage us, because the more people speak and ask questions and share comments, the more robust this conversation will turn out. So I would go to Chris first. No pressure. Yeah, just you know.
There we go. Is that turned on? There we go. That's turned on. Perfect. Thanks, Celia. So if we're talking about developing careers and aspirations, I think there's lots of questions we need to have here. So I won't speak too much. Actually, I think it's the questions from the floor that all matter and we can actually have some impact on. Because I think in Wolverhampton, one of the things we've got is we've had this cyclical decline in aspiration. This cyclical, people aren't gunning for the careers they want to do and they're just accepting things. And they're just thinking life's like this and they're carrying on as if that's the done thing or if that's the right thing to do. And it doesn't have to be that way. Places like Wolverhampton, places like Birmingham, places in the West Midlands, they don't have to be like that. And I think one of the issues is people haven't got that advice network to reach out to, and that's compounded within the black community and within minority communities. People don't know who to reach out to. They don't know who to build these relationships with. And we need to intervene, and I'm looking at this from the perspective of the City Council. I don't work in business, I don't work in finance, but from a political side of this, we need to ask those questions of, if people don't know who to reach out to, we need to be the organisation that's there. We need to be an organisation that's trusted by young communities. We need to be an organisation that's trusted across communities, and it's a question of how we get there. It's a question of how we take this image that people have of councils. Oh, sorry, I'll stand up, no problem, sorry. And we'll have a look at how we can change perceptions, how we can change those answers, because slowly we are changing the image of councils. Actually, we're lucky when we look at our political side of the council. It's a diverse council. We have numerous people. We have the right amount of, we have people from the LGBT community. We have people from our black and Asian communities. We have people from across the class spectrum. And we're beginning to change those perceptions, and we're trying to come into every community and build trust. And say, actually, if you've got questions, if you need support, come and speak to us and we'll see how we can adapt that for you and how we can adapt that for Wolverhampton. And that's where we're at. So, as I say, I'll wrap up quite quickly to get on to the other guests and actually take the questions from the floor, because that's what we want to know. It's your input that matters. That's why I'm here today. I'm not here today to tell you this is what the council's doing and we're doing it right. I'm here to listen to you and have you tell me what is needed and what we can do to support and how we can change what Wolverhampton looks like to make it a more inclusive, but also a better place to do business, to grow up, to work, and hopefully to stay in. Because I think that's something we've got to address in Wolverhampton, making sure that our talented citizens stay here and love it here and work here. And I think that's what we're looking for. So thank you.
Good evening. Are you well? Can you stand up for a second, please? Just stand up. Put your hands in the air, two of them. You ready? And put them down again. Up again. And now pretend we're in Qatar, and we're going to do the Mexican wave, right? So we're going to start from here and go all the way back and then come back up here. So ready, steady, go. Go. Go, go, go. Back up here, back up here, back up here, back up here. Oh, useless. Terrible, terrible. Sit down, sit down. Sit down, sit down. Has anyone got the latest scores? Are they still playing? Okay, so I'm Kevin Davis. I had the opportunity to speak at the conference this time last year, but in this context I've been asked again to speak particularly about education. So Tuesday and Wednesday I was at Oxford Business School, Oxford University, and I was speaking to lots of entrepreneurs from across the country, and interestingly we had an economist who was there as well. And when you hear about an economist come up, you think, oh my goodness, boring, boring, boring. But she wasn't. She was as engaging as our colleague from the Bank of England, because one of the things I was interested about what she was saying was she gave all lots of stats about how the economy is going like that and inflation's going like that. Things you think, my goodness, you know, really, really terrible. But one thing that stuck in my mind when she spoke was to say that inflation being so high, some of the challenges we've got can also be an opportunity for us. Because whereas inflation, which is probably killing some businesses, she says maybe some of those businesses don't have the right to be in existence because they're just being kept along by cheap money. Or the climate change at the moment, we've had to adapt, haven't we? Because some of us don't want to turn our gas, our gas on or the electric on. I know, like I'm getting my coat on before I'm sitting in the office, right? But what it's doing is making us innovate to try and find new ways to survive. And I think this opportunity now, in this challenging environment, is an opportunity for us to be the entrepreneurs, the people that make things, do new things. And for me, particularly when I was speaking at that event at Oxford, the one thing I talked about was the ladder of opportunity. And 2 weeks ago, we opened up, I think I gave you a year's advance notice, we were going to open up a new education campus in the Walsall area, which we did 2 weeks ago. And we've got 3 innovative schools that we've put on in the same area in the town centre of Walsall, one of which is called The Ladder. And I got the name The Ladder back in 2012 when I inherited a campaign from the Evening Standard newspaper to tackle the issue of youth unemployment in London. And when I was asked to take it to the Black Country back in 2014, that's exactly what we were doing, using the might and the vehicle of regional newspapers, partnerships with local authorities, partnerships with business to say, do you know what, it's wrong that we have many of our young people not going into employment, and that apprenticeships were seen as a route to try and tackle those challenges. And so I'm a big champion of apprenticeships. In fact, we brought the ladder not just to the Black Country, then to Birmingham and Shropshire and Staffordshire. We have a flagship awards championing apprenticeships for our region. And it was, I think it was last month that we brought the awards to the Black Country, and working with our friends at Wolverhampton Council with their Wolves to Work scheme, we brought it to Wolverhampton at the, what's the name of the old train station we've got? Grand Central. We did it there to tackle the challenges that we've got in this area. Now, I've got 9 schools in the trust that I helped set up and run, 10,000 students. Now, all of those students aren't going to go into apprenticeships, right? Some of them will go into universities, which we want them to do, but we want to make sure that we find the right pathway for the right student. So we've got 2 grammar schools, we've got comprehensive schools, a vocational studio school, and the ladder school, which is alternative provision. And the thing I'm passionate about is making sure that you, young people, you kids from King Solomon's, but young people like you, find that right path and have people that will encourage you and inspire you on that journey. Because I know, and you know what it's like to have someone in your life that speaks truth to you on the journey, that says, actually, think again, or don't do that, or, you know what, you're better than this. And I think having role models that you can look at and relate to is so important. And I think all of us here are elders in one way or another. should be thinking about that generation behind us, creating those pathways for them, and not just encouraging and inspiring as mentors, but think about the institutions. And that's why one of the reasons I got into education and education management, because I saw in my own schools in our area that we weren't making sure those opportunities were there for all students that look like me. And so that is part of the battle. Now, we're not there yet. I mean, I've inherited some schools that are over 400 years old. And some of the mentalities, I guess, are still 400 years old. So we've got to try and turn that ship, but turn it we must. And like the challenge we've got in the economy at the moment, things can seem awful. And how on earth are we going to do it? But in the midst of those trials and challenges, there's opportunities. But I wonder, in this room, are there those people here who are ready for the challenge? I wonder if any of you young people here have got that mindset to think, you know what, things are tough, but I'm going to be that person, right? I'm going to be that person that's going to overcome, right? And that's not ignoring the challenges, because we do have challenges. We do have 400 years of systems that don't work for us, but overcomers overcome. That's what I say, yeah? So I want to encourage you. I'm looking forward to the wider conversation, but great to be here. Great to have this conversation with you.
Right, I think I'm next, but I wasn't aware I was giving a talk first. But I've always had a passion about young people. Some years back, I used to go in schools in Wolverhampton to talk about business. And I was not very happy with the amount of children that waited to hear about business. They took that as a break to go into Wolverhampton town and have a good time. So it's nice tonight to see you all. But my passion about young people is that from school, and this is my own, what I've experienced. When you're near to leave school, and I don't know whether it's still, because I'm old now, but I won't tell you how old I am. But when you're near to leave school, you have your careers people that talk to you and tell you about the route you're supposed to go down. And I found that a lot of children weren't directed the right way. And what I'm saying to young people now, don't listen to what your career person is telling you, because you might have a passion for something, or you might be good at something and want to do it, and they make you feel you're not capable. All right? So one of the things that I wanted, and I'm glad you're on the panel and you're there, is to see, because I've had a passion about people not getting into employment from young all the way through. And my belief is it starts from, let's go from you lot that are in school, that I would like to see, whether it's the council or whatever, develop a relationship with various businesses in the town so that they can work with the schools. And these students who are not sure what they want to do, they can go down different paths to go into a business, whether it's an accountant, whether it's solicitors, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's whatever, and just see for themselves what it's like in those businesses, because that starts making you think. And I'd love to see that. So that's the development. And the next thing that I've noticed, because I employ people, is that presentation. And I think that is something that's lacking when you lot are going out for employment. There's nobody there telling you how to present yourself. I've seen a lot of CVs, and it's like CVs that are, it's like copied CVs. I don't want to see that. I want to know about you. When I interview someone, CVs means nothing to me. I want to know about you. So I always ask you about you. You know what I mean? And see. Another thing, when you go in for interviews, presentation, don't have your trousers down the bottom. Don't look as if you're on the street, you're going uptown. Present yourself no matter what, because it's what someone sees. That's the first impression. And after, they can talk to you and get the rest. But it's that first impression you want to impress when you go out for employment, right? And my motto is, don't let anybody take away your dreams. Because you might be good at something, go into something else, but those transferable skills can be used then. So remember, know what you want, because some children from 10, they know what their path is. And the other thing is, I would encourage any parents in here, if your child wants to do something, don't say, no, I'm not listening to you. Please, follow them, because it could be something for their career in the long run. Don't give up on them, all right? So I'm open now. I'll have a few more chats with you, but that's how I feel about employment, young people, and even older ones that have left school. You know, I think there should be a path that you lot are taught, so that when you go out there, you don't lose it, because you know all about it, all right?
Good evening, everybody. It really is great to be back here in Wolverhampton. Many years ago, I used to work here at the University of Wolverhampton. It's based in Wolverhampton Science Park. So it's just great being back in this part of the West Midlands. And I have to say congratulations to the organisers for this event. Sam Dura, it's a shame that he's not here today, but I know he's put a lot of work into getting this conference organised. But I'm particularly pleased that they've reached out to our young people. Particularly pleased, because a lot of times there is a disconnect between one generation to the next. But when our older generation can reach out to our younger people and say, you are important, you are the next generation, we want to spend some time with you, we want to invest in you. This has got to be the way forward for our community. So I'd just like to commend you for doing that today. Yeah. In my few minutes, and I'm going to leave just a couple of minutes because I can see a couple of the young people from King Solomon that I'd like them to recite. If you can do that for me, I would really appreciate it. Your poem on I Am an Entrepreneur, all right? This is about entrepreneurship. King Solomon International Business School is an all-through school based in Birmingham, an all-through Christian school, which I founded back in 2015. Its specialism is in international business. I have a passion for business, a real passion for business. At the age of 13, I was running my own little mini business. And so I would say that from the age of 13, I didn't need pocket money from my parents because I was self-sufficient. Thank you very much. And I do know the value from personal experience of being able to make your own money and not rely on others to employ you. And so I've got a real passion for that. And that passion has driven me throughout my life, really. I started an organisation back in Coventry many years ago aimed at women in business, called the Women's Business Development Agency, which I did for several years. I have lectured at both GCSE and A-level in business and also in management development. I've worked in black businesses. as a business advisor, so supporting literally hundreds of black businesses to start their own businesses, develop, diversify and so forth. And here in Wolverhampton, I was privileged to have been appointed as the Deputy Director for the Department for External Development. And within that, one of the things that they asked me to do was to set up a department for enterprise. So I set that up about 20 years ago, and that is still very much going. And as part of that, I was involved in the project team that developed the Masters in Entrepreneurship at the university, and also a £2 million project called the iCubed project, which I've noticed that they named that now the Space Centre, and that's incubation facilities based at Wolverhampton Science Park, providing support for business startups, companies around Wolverhampton and beyond. And that facility provides incubation facilities, advice and counselling, space that people can rent out, hot desking, and all sorts of facilities. And periodically I do check to see what's happening with that, because obviously it was dear to my heart 20 years ago, and it's still going very well and thriving today. So I would encourage all young people, when you get into university, check out and see what's available at the university and access those services, because they're there to help you. There's no point in them being there if you're not accessing them. You need to access them. So King Solomon International Business School, I'm going to call on, let me get the names right, Sophia and Afrika, if you can come and recite your poem, please, called I Am a Young Entrepreneur. Can we give them a round of applause?
I am an entrepreneur. I'm willing to take risks and do whatever it takes to succeed. I am an entrepreneur. I conquer the market, and I'm the lion of the concrete jungle.
I am an entrepreneur. Any competition that comes my way sparks nothing but determination. I am an entrepreneur. Dreaming big, passion gleaming, creating, innovating, and non-stop believing.
I am an entrepreneur. Making bold moves, but always playing fair. I'm a master of the market, always ready and prepared. I'm an entrepreneur. I fill gaps with products and services that the modern market needs.
Pushing future entrepreneurs into doing what they love, and most importantly,
Succeed.
I am an entrepreneur. Primed for any obstacle that comes my way, I overcome them with skill, precision, and logic. Because that's what we do as the entrepreneurs of today.
Yes, I knew at some point we will be enthused. It's just happened, and it so happened that the young people did it. One more round of applause for the young people. You know what was so mesmerizing isn't that they just read a poem? What's mesmerizing is they did it the old school style, without a phone, without a piece of paper, just their brains. You don't see that often anymore. We're so dependent. We're so dependent. We don't task our brains anymore. It's the same brains our forefathers had. The same brains my mom, who was barely, I would say she didn't go to secondary school, but she could cram stuff and really out, because they were tasking their brains. So I'm so impressed. Like I said before, I've met you guys, I've spoken to you, and you don't have to speak to someone too many times or too many hours to be able to decipher their depth. So your school is doing something good. I'm so impressed and I'm so happy. The sky is your starting point, yeah? One more round of applause, guys, for them. I was listening to the panels, some of the themes, some of the things I just wanted to repeat that came out, and I think we need to hear it again and again, is opportunities, is when you see difficult situations, there are opportunities there. One of our speakers said that, and I 100% agree. Speak the truth to young people. How desperate is this phenomena? We need to actually start speaking the truth to our young people. To our young people, you need to hear the truth. My dad said to me, the truth is never sweet, but I have to tell it you because I love you. I'm not going to tell you something that isn't true, but it's easy, and then you go out in the real world and find out that this wasn't of no use. How my father prepped me isn't of no use. I don't want you to feel like that when you've gone away from home. So I'm very happy he told me the truth. Sometimes I wish he didn't, because the truth, like he said, was actually very bitter. But we need to start telling our young people the truth, because that's how you can be made of steel and iron when you go out in the real world. Children not directed the right way, it's true. Sometimes the kids, young people, are misdirected. So again, when you've been prepped very well from home, when you go out, you'll be able to spot the truth and the lies or the misconceptions. So you need to know as well, you need to be able to sift from what is going to be of help to you and what isn't. This is not for the young people only, actually. This is for all of us as young, adults as well. Personalizing your CV is so true, not just for young people, for us as well. I always say there's that thing you have that somebody else hasn't got. So put that thing on the paper and challenge for the position that you want. Reaching out to young people, so true. Like when I was coming and saw the young people, I'm like, are there 2 events going on in one room? Then I realized this one event, I was so happy, because sometimes we talk about young people and they're not there. And I'm wondering, why are we talking to ourselves? The subject of discussion should be represented in the room. Just like when we talk about black opportunities and it's different people telling us about, we want to see those representation of the discourse right in that room. So I'm so glad you were able to take our time to be here. We have an array of talents sat right here. So happy you came, so happy the BBN keep amazing us every year. We have Dr. Sharon, we have Kevin Davies, we have Chris, my friend and my colleague, we have Mrs. Sandra. So I'm not going to limit the topic to what we have. I will just leave it open, because it would be a shame not to tap into this wealth of knowledge. Having heard them, the array of the talent sitting here, we cannot miss that opportunity. So ask any questions you want to ask, and I'm sure you would have a satisfactory answer. So I'll open up the floor. Say your name when you want to ask the questions. I'll bring the microphone to you. If you have a loud voice, just, okay, we've got somebody there, right? So put your hands up, and I think 10 minutes or 15 minutes, then we go to the second panel. Who is going to go first? Okay. No, here? Okay. Sorry. So say your name and where you're from, and then just ask your question, anything you want to ask at all.
My name is Farisa Zemwa. I'm from Bilston. My question is, as I was listening, 2 things stood up for me. The second speaker mentioned something about the challenges that we're facing at the moment, highlighting opportunities. And then I was reflecting on that, and I thought the young are not tapping into the opportunities, because I think we spend too much time focusing on what's going wrong rather than what opportunities could come out of what's going wrong. My question is, in Wolverhampton, who is doing what to challenge that?
Okay, I'm going to let Chris take this question. And yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that need to be involved in these. These need to be massive, multi-agency thing. And I think people have got to put their hands up when we think things haven't gone as well as they should have done. And that's why we're having events like this to be challenged, to be told, actually, this isn't working in my community. I think one of the most important things we've done in Wolverhampton recently that has helped people is we've set up the Ignite Hub, and that's with our other partners. That is a free co-working space. It's a free co-working space and incubation hub for businesses. So one of the big things, and there's some business people here today who know much more about business than me, businesses struggle to survive the first year. And part of that is the huge startup cost, it's the huge expense involved in starting a business. As a council and with our partners, we've taken that away. And we've taken that away and said, you can have this space for free, you can have these meeting rooms for free. You want to be an entrepreneur? You can do that in Wolverhampton. And we're going to provide you all of the environments and spaces you need to succeed. Free coffee, free Wi-Fi, free meeting space, free electricity in that space in the city centre. And that's one of the things we put in place, because we need people from all backgrounds to be able to set up businesses. Because one of the problems, this is a problem in Britain for so long, you could only set up a business if your family could bail you out. That was so real for so many people, and that's not going to be the case in Wolverhampton anymore, and that's one thing I think that we as a council and our partners are putting forward. But there's got to be a place for business to come in as well. We can do so much as a council, but there's things where we actually need people to stand up and say, well, actually, this is what our community needs. How can we do it? And businesses from that community to offer that mentorship down. So I don't know if anyone has anything to add on that.
I think Wolverhampton is a good place in the sense that they are fessing up to the challenges that are in this locality. And one of the things I've learned over 20 odd years of doing what I do is the strength in community, and that you need to try and work together. Now, I look at, I'm speaking to an African Caribbean community here in the main, aren't I? In the main. And there's been times over our journey in history when perhaps, I'll say this, we haven't worked as cohesive together as we could and should do. And that's why an organisation like this is important, to bring together our communities to work together. We see other communities that do thrive, particularly in business, because they've learnt the art of working and collaborating together. I think that's an important thing, and that particular theme of what I call the economy of together should be translated beyond us into other agencies to work together, because there's not going to be one agency that solves the challenges. It's going to be all of us collaborating together to do that. But your point, Madam, which you raised was, I'm not going to diminish. Our young people do have severe challenges. We've come out of a pandemic, which was still reaping the whirlwind of aspects of that. Mental health has been a big challenge for a lot of our young people. So these are real things. So we're not just diminishing them. But I think the attitude we should try and foster within ourselves and around us is about how we, as I said before, overcome those challenges in the midst of those adversities. If I can throw some ancient wisdom that you all know, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? I will fear no evil. That doesn't mean the evil doesn't exist around us. It's about our focus and that we are overcomers. And I think that's the challenge that we've got here in this locality, not just in Wolverhampton, but across the area, is about how we can pull those agencies together. And so that's the next phase of my journey is about that, whether it's in NHS, whether that's in education, whether that's in business, whether that's in regional or national government, is how we can try and focus our energies, create economies of scale that can ensure that the next generation rises up to the challenges and opportunities that they face.
Okay. Hello. Okay. We're going to take the second question, and then, because we're sort of running behind schedule, so I'll take the second question. Oh, okay.
Hello. I'm Jay from Wolverhampton. Thanks for the talks. Everything's been great so far, and the poetry was great. I just thought this is like a bit of like a mind state one, but for obviously the young people. So we're talking about the struggles of young people and the struggles that startups face in the first years. I think it's like 90% of businesses don't make it past 3 years nowadays. And considering the reliance there is on work ethic, stability, all that good stuff of the founders to be successful and actually survive, like not just survive as a business, but then thrive and then actually like turn profit. Do you think that we have a responsibility to address the elephant in the room that there's actually a massive global marketplace, lower barriers to entry, and increasing costs everywhere that make it harder to survive as a business?
Okay, I'll let, yeah. I thought that was a brilliant question as well, so I'm glad quite a number of people thought the same. I would give Dr. Sharon the microphone as someone who's been in business from when, you know.
I would say a key thing for entrepreneurs, this is actually essential, is that you've got to plan. The saying that says that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's just so important. I remember back in the days when I used to work in black businesses, the business plans that used to come to our doors, because I also used to sit on various panels that gives out grants and loans to businesses and so forth, was those that did do a business plan, oftentimes it was very, very meagre, not well thought through, market research wasn't done, or effectively. And these are the people that had taken the time to do something. A lot of them just didn't. They just set up in business. And I was quite frustrated of seeing some of the business plans that came to us that were just so unrealistic. Excuse me, men in the house, but this was particularly true of our men. They had these fantastic business plans. They were going to become millionaires overnight. It doesn't happen. So getting a business plan, seeking advice, organisations like this for me is absolutely essential. Coming out to events like this, accessing the business training that is available, taking business advice from people who have been through it, taking the time out to seek a business mentor, preferably somebody in that sector that you want to go to. And it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter about the colour, the race, the creed, just somebody that is willing just to spend some time and sit down with you. It's all about preparation, and then it's also about being flexible, always with your ears to the ground, being prepared to adapt your business as things are changing, because plans do change. So for me, that's a key thing. It's about planning, it's about taking advice, it's about accessing the facilities that are available, and it was good to hear what Wolverhampton is providing. Thank you for that. I know even here at the university, for those who do go to universities, a lot of the facilities that are there, they do provide you with subsidised office space and things like that. So anything to cut your cost is essential. So access what's available, and don't think that you know it all. You've got this fantastic business idea. No, you need more than that. Yeah.
What I'd like to say is, I just want to ask that question, the gentleman. Are you on about if you're in business and with the economy that's going on now?
No, it's me, so... Okay.
Because I didn't get the question. And the reason why, because I am a businesswoman. I've been in business since the 80s. I've been part of Business Link. I was a non-exec director of Business Link and all those things. So when it comes to about the businesses, I just want to hear, again, what you're trying to say.
Okay, so the question was less like, because there's practical advice, as we said, like, planning is key.
Yeah.
But for any business, obviously, execution is everything, because you can have the best plan in the world. If you stumble at the first fall and put hurdle, then it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? 90% of businesses, I don't know the whole statistic or whatever, but 90% of businesses don't survive past 3 years. And there's, even within that, it's like only like 1% of businesses that actually, we talk about £1 million, the unicorns, the ones who blow up and make silly money or whatever, right? So do you think the question is, do you think we have a responsibility to actually like tell young entrepreneurs about the hardships that will be faced being an entrepreneur?
Right. Yes, I'll tell you this, from experience and everything. When we start up in business, a lot of us, we haven't got the money to back it. Many a times we haven't got the parents to give us the money to back it. So we start a business and we probably start off with £1,000. When to do that business, you probably need about 10,000. But nobody's there to sort of direct you. So you go into it, you think you're starting all right, and then you come up on a block because your money run out. Banks aren't giving you money, no nothing. I'll give you an example. When I've been in business a long time, and I've started up this business now, and when I started it up in care, the money was from our savings, 2 of us. And I remember it took us 8 months before we got our first job. And the first job was only about 40 odd pounds, and we thought we were the bee's knees. But you know what survived us? Because we had no, we did. We thought it was brilliant. Thank you. So, So, what I'm saying is, for anybody starting up in business, put something aside before you start. You got your passion, you know what you want, but don't think £200. My motto was, and we did save that money, we need a year worth of paying wages, paying the bills, because you're going to know with your business plan and everything, how much your rent's going to be, how much your outgoings are. Make sure you have that money put away, because don't think in business it happens overnight. It takes a while, and that's how we survive. And I was in manufacturing, I did a manufacturing company, it was the same way. You have to put it away ready. And don't go and buy the big cars or whatever. You build that business, all right? But don't start something that you can't back it for at least 12 months. 12 to 18 months, I say. If you can back it then you'll survive. And that's from experience.
Okay, I will take 2 more questions on this round and would finish the first panel and go to second panel. Like I said before, we're running slightly behind schedule. So if we keep the questions, no, hold on. Sorry. So we'll take 2 more speakers. And what was I going to say? I really want to hear from 4 of you for each question, but I'm trying to work around the time. So if we do 1 minute each, so we can hear an array of answers, that would be fantastic. I would call the gentleman at the back there, yeah. And then you afterwards.
Thank you. Just to back up the earlier...
sorry, can you say, sorry to interrupt you, can you say who you are?
Right,
I know where you're from, I know who you are, but it would be worthwhile others knowing as well.
My name is Sham Sharma. I'm the chair of Wolverhampton Business Forum. And we have an event on the 8th of December at Carver's. So everybody's welcome to join. It's free of charge. And we also have a buffet laid on. Just to come back to the earlier question. If you're starting a business, go and work with the business, free of charge. See how that particular business is run and pick their brains. It doesn't cost you anything. When I was 16, I actually worked in a business, free of charge. I learned everything about the business that I need to know. It tells you what it's going to cost you, how much money you need, what sector of business you want to go into, and how much it's going to cost you. And you've got to have a plan B. If you plan to succeed, not plan to fail. And that's the way you've got to think positive. You're going to fail, yes, but how are you going to come out of it as well? So go and see a business being run. Work with a person. Go and write to a CEO of a company. Can I come and see how, can I shadow you? See how you run your business. And that is a great help. So if you want to run a business, go and shadow somebody.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the final contributor. If you're free on the 8th, make sure you go to Carver's. I think it normally starts 6:45 a.m. Am I right, Shama? PM. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been to a couple of those. It's really good for contacts. So many people turn up. It's in Carver's. Just Google where Carver's is on the 8th. I would recommend if you're in business, definitely go along. So many contacts there. Yeah, the final contributor yeah.
Thank you. So, there's a saying. Oh, I'm Carol Edmondson, by the way. There's a saying. Your network is your net worth. Hang around with people, and I am saying this, I'm a registered member of Ignite. It is the jewel in Wolverhampton's crown. For the young people here, when you're on your holiday, book an appointment to go in. Jazz has a wealth of information in helping people set up. Jacob uses the center. It's free, the workspace. It's free to come and find out what other people are doing. Get inspired. And I love, by the way, the two beautiful ladies who shared that poem with passion, because that's what you need in business. Passion, conviction, and a why that's going to carry you through when you fail, but fail forward. Don't give up on your dream. Life is too precious. Make the most of now. All right, thank you.
Right, if you have a question or a comment or anything, put it to the second panel. It's still going to be relevant because I'm going to open the discourse. It's not going to be limited to aspiration or whatever. Just put the questions there. I want to seriously thank our panelists. And Chris, thank you so much. Round of applause for Chris. Mr. Kevin Davis, thank you so much. Dr. Sharon, thank you so much. And Mrs. Sandra, thank you so much. Ladies, we had a fantastic first panel, and we're going to look forward to the second one just after this. Thank you so much. One more round of applause for them. So, we're going straight on. We're supposed to have a little break, but we're not doing that because we're running out of time. Our second panel will consist of, if you hear your name, please come forward. Miss Harinda Konor. Round of applause. Miss Harinda Konor is a local enterprise manager and Women in Business ambassador for NatWest. So if you have a NatWest credit card and you want to pay it off, I'm joking. We've got Miss Harinda. We've got Mr. Lakbir Singh. Lakbir Singh? Is he not here? Right, okay. We've got Mr. Henry Sapper. I know I saw Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry is an independent advisor, Radical Financials, and WBBN director. He's been in this journey since I've been coming, I've been seeing Mr. Henry, so he's consistent. And we've got Mr. Junior Hermans. Mr. Junior is a business consultant and non-executive director for the Royal Wolverhampton NHS Trust and Warsaw Health NHS. So if you're not feeling very well, if you're not feeling very well, including myself, just meet Mr. Junior afterwards, so he'll be able to give you some tips. I'm joking, by the way. So this is our second panel, everyone. As we did before, we're going to have 2 minutes from each of them, just sharing whatever they think is very essential for tonight. I'm sure they already know the crowd we have. So by all means, tell it to the crowd. By all means, do your own thing. But we'll hear 2 minutes from each of them, and then we open it up for questions. Thank you. So we'll go with you first.
Ladies first. Good evening. So my name is Harinder. I am a local enterprise manager for NatWest. Just going on the theme of today, a lot of it is around what support is available for young people. NatWest is really passionate about getting the potential for young people, and we've got various tools out there that I think will be excellent for you to have a look at. So if you've got your pens to hand, but I don't know if you've got them, write down some of the websites that I'm going to tell you. So if you go to natwest.com, we've got a program called Money Sense. So Money Sense is a program for 5 to 18-year-olds. Now this is available for young people, for parents, for teachers. There's activities on there. There is practical tools that you can implement to teach you about saving up and money. Things like, you know, when you start a job, what does a pay slip look like? What is the tax that's been taken off? If you are saving for something, how do I save? Where do I put the money? So different tools that you can use. We've got another tool called Career Sense. Now, Career Sense is a program of support for 13 to 24-year-olds. Now, that's probably for a lot of you young people here. Now, the tools on there are things that you will need if you're looking at applying for university or your career choices. There's practical support on there, from CV writing to getting ready for an interview, whether that's for a job or whether that's actually for universities or colleges. So we talked about being presentable, having CV skills. So all those tools are available for you on there as well to have a look at. So if anything, have a look at Money Sense and Career Sense as a tool to help you guys as you're going through your journey. In terms of support that's available for entrepreneurs, now I know there's quite a few entrepreneurs in the room here. One of the things that we found is, as I think you had mentioned, that people, you know, starting up the first year, a lot of businesses struggle, and after 3 years, some of them are failing. What can they do? So we have got 3 levels of support. So one of those is something called Business Builder. Now, Business Builder is self-led learning modules available for anyone. You don't have to bank with NatWest to access it. Now, what this is, these are tools to help you if you're thinking about starting up in business, whether you're starting or actually looking to scale your business and reach new markets. So you could be trading for many years. COVID has struck and you're thinking, what do I now do? How do I reach into new markets? There's practical tools, workbooks, events that you can go on and actually educate and self-learn yourself. There's also a Facebook community you can join, because being an entrepreneur is a very lonely place. We know that. So you can access the Facebook community for free when you go on to Business Builder as well. So again, natwest.com business, go on to Business Builder with support available for you. Another tool we've got is something called NatWest Accelerator Program. Now, I know there's someone in the room here there's actually a couple of people who are on our program. Now, what this is, it's a 6-month incubation space in one of our 14 accelerator hubs across the country. The closest ones to the West Midlands is Birmingham Brindley Place, and we have one at Warwick University. So what does that enable you? That will enable an entrepreneur to actually access 6 months of coaching for free. You don't have to bank with NatWest to access this. We know that, as I said, an entrepreneur life is lonely. You've got challenges. You want to have someone to share those with. Our accelerator program is about actually developing you as that entrepreneurial leader, looking at what are those challenges, being that inner critic for you. So the 6 months coaching you get, it can be face-to-face or digital, whichever proposition you actually choose. You also then form part of our community. So on that 6-month cohort, we will onboard 100 businesses in the Birmingham, Wolverhampton, West Midlands area and Birmingham. you will then be part of that community. Talking about, you know, how can you network? Well, you can grow your network with that community that you will build when you're on programme. Our applications are actually open now to apply for our March 2023 cohort. There is no, you've got to have a business account for X amount of years. This is available for anyone at any stage. So just go onto our website, have a look at NatWest Accelerator Hub, you can apply. We've also got some discovery events we've got on. So if you want to find out more, come and see me and I'll give you, I'll send you an email out with a link that you can come along to Entrepreneur Accelerator events and hear more about the programme. Primarily what I want to say is the support is there. A lot of you are saying, look, where do we go? We know, you know, there's loads of support. I mean, you've got Access to Business here who provide free workshops, free support. Ignite are giving you free office space. There is loads of support out there, but it's just knowing where do I signpost, where do I find it. So just reach out to all the support agencies that are out there because we're all here to help you to actually start, scale and succeed.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. And it really is difficult to repeat, or try to avoid repeating everything that's been said already. But what is key, what I have heard from many of the speakers that have gone on, and what I've just heard, is that it's all important. So I simply say it as this. What you have just all heard this evening, what you have heard before, yesterday, and what you'll hear again tomorrow, is information for your toolkit. So I'm still learning, and that is the important thing about being in business. You constantly have to keep learning. You have to keep pace. When you look at, if I tell you the oldest established motor car that is still manufactured today is the Mini, if you was to look at that car in the 1950s as it was designed and how it is today, it is completely different. But it is still the Mini. And one of the things that you have to learn is no matter what business you enter, what sector you enter, if you want to survive, you have to keep pace. So your business has to go through iterations. You have to learn to speak to your customers. You simply don't give them what they don't want because they won't buy it. So by speaking to them, by engaging with them, you will learn what they want. You'll learn what they expect. And I'm sure all of you here have aspiration and expectation. So what is your aspiration? That's something we're going to work for. But what is it your expectation? Well, when you go into shops, you expect to be treated in a certain way. Come in here this evening, you expect to be treated in a certain way. And that will be your customers. They will not stay with you if you're not meeting their expectations. What the point that was just made about the bank was just so reminiscent. I did a course, I think Graham's still here. So I did a course way back in the 80s, a Bet General, and I was a bit lazy back then. So I was doing this course, and I thought I had an option. What is the option I'll choose? I'll choose banking, that sounds easy. So I went into the course, chose banking, and I sat down there, and I was listening to the lecturer, and we back then had, I was looking if I had one. Well, I've got money. I'm one of the few people who put up my hands for money. So I was looking, and back then we had a £1 note, bigger than this, big and green. And he took it out of his pocket, and he said to us, as the class, read what it says. So it said on there, I promise to pay the bearer. So if when I go into a shop, if someone says that item is £10, I promise to pay you £10. You've then got to put value to what you're selling, and value to the service that you're offering, and value to you. So I will simply say it as this. You've got to learn to plan. You've got to learn to save a little, spend a little, live a little. It's all three, because you're not working not to survive. So in your plan, and I do this myself, so I'm not telling you what I don't do, I'm telling you what I do do. In my business plan, in my financial projections, I put away money all the time. That's long term, forget it, it's gone. It's not in my head anymore, that's long term. It's gone into a savings account, one of which, although I don't bank with NatWest, nothing personal, I put money away and that is it. Because I know my business will need it in 5 and 10 years' time for its next investment of growth. The other thing is, I put another sum away, and that's to make sure I pay wages or pay bills or pay whatever, because that's going to be needed in the immediate future. And I'm not working not to survive, so I will like to live a little, get some enjoyment. So I'll urge you all to remember this. It is stressful out there, and you can't deal with the stress every day. So do something else that brings you some enjoyment. Have a stress breaker. Do something, play basketball as I do. If you don't play basketball, play football, go to the gym, go swimming, do something. That takes the stress out of you, renews your spirit, creates some focus, and gives you the opportunity to then say, I'll come again and deal with the problem that I had yesterday with a clean set of eyes and a clearer head. Good luck to you.
I'm also a director of WBBN. Wise, you've heard about starting a business. All I can add on to that is to talk about when you do start a business, how do you sustain it? A lot of our people in the black community, somebody mentioned somewhere there, businesses last for about 2 years or something like that, and they get closed. And now, I think the most important thing in our community is to be able to understand what is profit and what is capital. Because most of the time, they see the money and they don't know the difference between which part of that money is the capital that they don't have to spend, because that capital money means that you have to use that to be replacing your stock. And I have a typical example. When I got my partnership initially, I was surprised when my co-partner said to me, the first time I heard that how was your weekend? Oh, I went with my wife to London and stuff like that. And then he brought this receipt to the office and said, he's making a claim for this. I said, what is this about? Oh, it's for our hotel bill and petrol. And I said, has this got to do anything to do with the work? He said, but it's our company. I said, no, that's not how it works. Because the money for the company is not for you and your wife and your own social lifestyle. But he was ignorant, because as far as he was concerned, it's our money, and if it is there, let's spend it. Right. Now you can see he didn't last long with me. Right? Because looking at the way he's looking at business, we ain't going to survive. Okay. A different dimension now. I'm a financial planner. A lot of my people are not in the industry that I am, which is a shame, really. Because there are big opportunities in this industry that I work, the financial services. Now, we heard from Graham about the Bank of England. Now, if you don't want to go into that route, or you don't want to go into the city, and you want to have your own little practice, not only will you make some good money, but you'll be able to help your community, because there are a lot of informations that you can pass on to your people that they don't know about. I'll give you one example. You might think that the only way that you can be able to solve some issues is by savings. I say to you, no, because sometimes things happen and you won't be able to have built up the enough savings to be able to solve that. You might fall ill. These are things that nobody can predict. Things do happen, guys. So, if you say to me, oh, I've got some money in my bank, I will ask you, if you are not to be working today, how long will that money in the bank last you? I can tell you the statistics, the survey in England is that most of the savings of people in this country only last for 3 months. And you can see the example when pandemic came. As soon as COVID came, after 2 months, the whole country became broke. Now you ask yourself, if they have been saving, how come the panic was so much just within a month and two? Everybody started crying. So, if you can save, because sometimes things are hard, you couldn't really have enough to put in the bank and stuff like that, where are these guys coming? I say to you guys, think about what you can do. you can protect your income. The money you put aside to protect your income is so little that if something happens, like you're out of work due to illness, you'll be surprised what you can get from the providers of these products. Our people don't know about that. Our people won't fall sick. Our people think they don't die. Our people think that you're wishing them bad luck. But these are important things if you want to sustain your business. When you guys then have these businesses we're talking about, remember, if you don't start protecting your income and the unexpected does happen, these businesses will shut. So you got to protect your key employees. Little premiums you have to be putting aside. If your key employees fall ill and they can no longer function work-wise, you'll be able to get some money from the providers to replace this key employee. And this is for you guys to be able to sustain your businesses, because of a lot of my people, the black people, their businesses don't survive if they themselves are not there. But there are things there that they can do, make provisions for these unexpected things that can happen. So this is the thing I want you guys to think about. There is a lot of things that will protect your businesses when you come on board as entrepreneurs, as a lot of you want to be. You only have to ask the question, and you'll be able to sort these things out without having words and words of money in the bank, because it will take you some years to be able to provide that kind of capital or that kind of budget in the bank. So start from a little, even if you're a renter. Not everybody will have enough money to go and take a mortgage and stuff like that. If you're renting from a landlord, protect that income. If you happen not to be going to work for 6 months or so, you can still live in the same place, paying these bills if you have protected it. And I'm talking for a guy of about 18, 20, it will cost you less than £30 a month to protect an income of about $2,000 a month. How many of people do that? So I rest my case. There's a lot of protection. There's a lot of protection for you guys if you come into business. Most of the small, medium-sized businesses in UK, about 80% have not protected their businesses. Shameful. And this is why when there is any little crisis, they don't know what to do. So listen, if you want to sustain your business, as soon as you come on board, tighten everything, and you'll be rest assured your business will survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Havinda, Mr. Junior, and Mr. Henry. So many nuggets there. I'm sure, yeah, definitely. I was listening myself. I just forgot I was actually supposed to be hosting. So many things to learn from there. I'll open up the floor, and I'll take as many questions as we can fit in. I know the gentleman over there, you wanted to ask a question, so please ask the question. This panel is about wealth creation and finance, but please ask the question, any questions. I'm sure they will be capable to answer them. So I'll start with a young person and then you next.
Use this microphone as well. Good evening. My name is Simpia Magwaza from King Solomon International Business School in Birmingham. And I wanted to know, what advice do you have for young, aspiring entrepreneurs who have to deal with post-pandemic current economy, in top of having to deal with problems that come with being a minority in this field?
Who wants to take the question? I'm happy for any of you to take the question. Mr. Junior.
Which one?
No, use that one as well.
Okay. There's no easy solution to that one, because the challenge will always be, and some of it was answered in the earlier session as well, you've still got to look for the opportunity because it's still there. The challenge around being an ethnic minority will always be there because you're not going to change partway through. So you've got to learn to stay in the fight. But one of the biggest things I'll always say to people is self-belief. because there'll always be knocks. Regardless of what you do as a business, what you do as a career, there'll always be knocks. So self-belief is the most important thing. Now, one of the things that I learned very early on is one of the things that my uncle said to me. He said, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So if you can surround yourself with the best of friends, people whose advice you can trust, if you know where to go and get the advice of others who have been in it before, then learn to ask for that advice. Listen to it. It will always be a challenge, but you will get advice out of it that can help you to get through. Now, with this post-pandemic, the soothsayers will always say there's no opportunity. But I work on the basis of antennae up. So if your antennae is up, regardless of how murky it is, an opportunity is there. You seize that opportunity and then you go for it. Just by one way of example, one of the businesses I set up, which was quite successful, was that I heard a speech that David Blunkett made in 1996. He was Minister for Education and Labour had just got into power. And all he simply said was, children in care are leaving without any formal qualifications. I saw an opportunity to set up a business to teach the children in care. So I set up a business. I found someone who I was renting a house to, who was a teacher, and she said she'd come into it with me, and we ran that business. In the end, we grew. We had 21 teachers, 3 outsourced schools that we managed, and was teaching and improving Ofsted results in those schools. It's antennae up, seek advice, keep your network of friends that you trust tight, and then you'll get through.
Thank you. I think that answer was comprehensive, so I'm just going to go to the next question. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, hi. Name is Trevor Johnson, Saints Training, Wolverhampton. My question was more so for the business panel than the finance and wealth management, but I don't know your capacity, you might be able to answer it. We've got a lot of young entrepreneurs here who are sponges for what we're sharing. I'm on my second business. My first one was the Millennium Bug one, opened it up in 1999, shut it down in 2001. What I wanted to know was if any of you have had a business that's failed, and if you can explain why it was failed and how you personally bounced back to continue. Thank you.
That's a really good question. Do you want to take it? 1 minute max. So I want everybody to chip in. 1 minute each. No, take it, Mr.
Well, honest.
Actually, was it directly to you?
I'll go in as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I'll go in.
Can we keep the answers to 1 minute so everybody would have it?
All I can say about this is we don't have the patience to be, I don't know what's our problem. I keep going back to whether it's our own problem or it's just a general problem, but I think most of our own issues is that of resilience, persistence, because there is no reason why you should expect that because you've got that dream of this business that as soon as you start it, it will start kicking up. You will definitely struggle, and that is when you're being tested, whether you can survive it. My financial services practice, like I said, I lost my partner, the business as if it was going down, and he himself believed that it was going down. So what I can say to you is, when I started bringing it back, after I was really down, but I refused to die because I believe that there is something there that people have to buy into. You must first of all believe in that very business that yourself is promoting. Because if you don't think that it's going to work, then definitely it's not going to work. So I always challenge myself. I don't advise people on financial affairs that I'm not prepared to take upon myself. So what I would say is, that business, if you believe in it and you think that you've failed in that business, then there is something wrong. Either that business is not really what it's supposed to be, or you've lost faith in it. I will always put it back to yourself. Don't blame the people out there. It's you that have to sell the product. So keep challenging yourself. That's the way I've turned it around myself.
Just to quickly add to that, yes, the business, one of my businesses did go down, and it went down on, in fact, the education business, it went down on two things. One, you can never expect that nobody will ever enter your market. I did some lecturing at the university, and I tell students all the time, no business ever says, oh, come in, take 10% of my market share. No, are you just starting? Take 15%. It doesn't happen. Everybody is dog eat dog. It is as truly as tight as that. So some of the times, because, you know, in business we like to be polite, we have to elbow out. And somebody elbowed you out. That was what happened. So in essence, what you've then got to do is say, well, what was the difference in terms of me being elbowed out because the market got tight, or maybe the market itself was just very mature. So if the market's mature, you know, if you want to set up a supermarket now, who are you going to take on? Everybody. So you've got to know that sometimes it's that market moving for itself. So the part of your analysis is, what did I learn? Was I elbowed out? What do I need to do to be bigger and stronger? Did I grow it in the right way? Did I put aside enough? Was I responsive to my customers? There's a lot of analysis, but there's still nothing wrong with going again.
Okay, I think the young people, unfortunately, will be leaving us. As you can appreciate, they've been here since, and they have to get to Birmingham before 9:30. So we will, they're going to love us and leave us, and the least we can do is to give them another round of Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. All the best.
Oh, Senior, was there any way we could have had a group photograph?
Yeah. Excuse me, can we have a group photo with the young people before they go?